Hello everyone, Action here. Paradox released a gigantic dev diary going in depth with the Nomad Mechanics, and I want to talk with you about how broken the Arkships and Nomad Empires are. I already had my doubts that they were going to be strong due to the whole moving empire and collecting resources idea, but I was honestly very surprised to see how Nomad Empires actually work, and I will be giving you my opinions on why I think Nomad Empires might be one of, if not the strongest type of empire in the upcoming patch. Now, they confirmed that Nomads will be able to build multiple Arkships, and instead of colonizing, your new Arkship will start with 1000 pops. If you played Stellaris some years ago, you remember that we could colonize a planet that will give us pops instantly, and then you could just resettle and abandon the colony, then colonizing it again for an infinite pop growth loop. This Arkship mechanic seems very close to that, so we can just create an Arkship, get 1000 free pops, resettle the pops, and even if we can't completely abandon the Arkship like we do with a planet, leaving one pop behind, we can just send the Arkship to be destroyed in combat, presumably destroying the colony as well. Now, this is all assuming we can resettle pops between Arkships and that they can be destroyed in combat, but I think we will be able to resettle since that is a core mechanic for pretty much every empire, and if Nomads can't have access to that, it would be very awkward to manage our economy. And yesterday we saw the art team talking about the visual effects of the Arkships being destroyed. So since Arkships behave like ships, I believe they can be destroyed in combat. It's very reasonable to believe they would function that way, since Arkships also don't have access to defense armies, as the devs confirmed, thus we can't invade Arkships with ground troops. The only way I see this mechanic not working is if the devs implement a pop requirement to build an Arkship, something like what we have with the Horizon Needle from Cosmogenesis. So you could pay 1000 pops for every new Arkship, making the net gain 0. This mechanic in itself is already huge. We don't know how many Arkships we can pump out, but if we consider a late game scenario that we can pump out 2 or 3 Arkships every decade, that would be around 2 or 3000 new pops, or a pop growth of 17 to 25 per month, on top of your already base growth. That is completely insane and can make literally any build have good pop growth, even psionics. It is especially good considering the late game, when our regular pop growth is severely reduced by the number of pops we have in our empire, since these 1000 pops are granted regardless of other modifiers. Now, there are other mechanics that make Arkships and Nomad Empires extremely busted on paper. Nomad Empires will have something called operational reserves that combines energy and minerals stockpile into one single thing. What it means is that we can offset any negative mineral output with energy and vice versa, which opens a plethora of new strategies. The devs showed an empire operating with a negative of 115 minerals and surplus of 258 energy, and more details about how this whole mechanic works. Like, we can buy minerals and energy from the market to fill our reserves, but we can't sell them. This is actually huge, commanders, because we can just specialize our jobs into make one type of resource, preferably energy, since energy has a higher base output. If we can be a megacorp nomadic empire, we can have tons and tons of trade, filling our operational reserves with energy and completely abandoning any mineral output. I can't overstate how impactful this is. You can pick species traits to favor energy only. If you have great mineral income, you can pay for your ship's upkeep with minerals basically, because it's all the same thing, but it doesn't stop there. If you have a large operational reserve, you gain stability and research speed bonuses. Simply ridiculous. Without even knowing the numbers, it's already OP that we can translate a stockpile into meaningful bonuses. Many players, including myself, always have a healthy stockpile of energy and minerals just due to how the game works. We gain way more than we can spend after the early game, of course. For normal empires, this is just inefficiency, but for Nomads, this is actually good. Not only that, we can also pick an approach to spend more operational reserves, increasing all of our specialist job efficiency and build speed. Imagine if you can have tons of AI tributaries like we talked about in our vessel guide. You can have a massive energy and mineral income, getting high operational reserves, taking the expensive approach, and you'll get research speed, stability, and all specialist job efficiency. Simply bonkers. Now, you might be thinking about districts and mineral costs affecting your operational reserves. Districts for Nomad Empires will cost alloys instead. This is a negative for them, as alloys are much more valuable than minerals. However, nomadic empires have access to very powerful districts. Paradox is introducing a new mechanic that districts will affect your Arkships in combat. As we can see, we have 3 variations additions of weapon districts that will give us 200 soldier jobs and will increase the corresponding weapon type damage. Every district will give plus 5%, which may not look very impressive. However, if we can have a size 20 military Archship and stack a bunch of laser districts, we would be getting plus 100% energy weapons damage. It isn't restricted to damage though. We also have the Void Forges that gives what appears to be plus 2% armor and plus 1% armor hardening, or it could be plus 1% hull. I'm not sure what the icon represents. This will come at an increased upkeep cost. I assume it is a district upkeep and not a job upkeep, because if it is a job upkeep, we can just block all jobs and have the districts running regardless. The worst case scenario is if it is required to work these jobs in order to receive the damage bonuses, but I doubt it would work that way. These soldiers also provide more naval capacity than soldiers from normal empires, since nomadic empires can't have defensive armies. This is another great thing because naval capacity is the largest bottleneck in Stellaris 4.3, so having more efficient sources of that and also improving our ship combat capabilities is extremely good. Finally, I want to talk about another economic aspect of Nomad Empires. From day one, they have access to all the strategic resources without needing to research anything. As Paradox showed, we can harvest any cosmic body and it will give a special resource according to the object class, but having access to strategic resources from day one is massive. It means we can activate the powerful war edicts instantly, getting more sublight speed, more sensor range to find other empires, improve our ship defenses and weapons by 25%. It's very strong. The only downside is that when you harvest, that celestial object will be on a minimum cooldown of 20 years. However, if you use a special Arkship action called Deep Scan, you remove this cooldown, meaning you can instantly harvest that resource once again. This can easily give us a massive economic boost in the early game, since the amount of resources we gain by harvesting are very expressive. And in the beginning is when we are struggling to find minerals and other resources to develop our planets. Nomad Empires will still suffer some form of it because their districts are built with alloys instead of minerals, and we have no way of harvesting alloys from cosmic bodies. So your planetary development will still come from the amount of resources you produce from your planet, or your Archship in that case. One workaround will be to just sell the massive strategic resources we get from harvesting in the galactic market or in the internal market in the early game. With the gigantic trade input, we could then buy the alloys or whatever resource we need to continue our expansion. So imagine getting a 900 volatile mode influx in the first few years. You could then sell it and buy a ton of alloys or even energy to fill your operational reserves and get research speed, stability and job efficiency bonuses. Now compare all of that with a regular empire and you'll see how broken Nomad Empires actually look on paper. It all depends on their numbers, but looking from the information that Paradox has provided us, we can already see that Nomads have a lot of tools to be extremely strong. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that Nomads will be the strongest type of empire, or do you think they will be outshined by the current meta builds? And if this video helped you understand how Nomads work, leave a like because it also helps me out a lot. And as always, Commanders, I'll see you guys next time.